Hello everyone, this is Gayle, and if you watched my product review that I did last weekend, you will see that I did these samples on these they're nail mica powders, but they're all except for two of them looked really white. And I didn't know what color they were, so that's what it looks like in the jar. That's the bottom, but when I turned it over, that's what it really was. It was like a chrome green. And this is how it is on black and on white. And it didn't show up very well on the white, so I'm going to use the black. But I think I was going to use copper. Let me look at my findings and see what I've got in here. I do have some copper. I think what I'm going to do is try the copper powder. And I'm going to try using this little applicator, but I may end up changing. But you'll need some kind of a fine mica powder, and you'll need a silk screen that has large designs in it. Now, I keep my silk screens in a little book, the ones that'll fit. There's two that I have that won't, but if you look at some of these silk screens, let me see, I'm trying to find something, most of these won't work, but like, these are the Sculpey screens. Now they're not the shape that I want, but if you look at these are really pretty designs. The only problem is, all that will go through the silk screen is the where the white lines are. And I want to make a bracelet, which is long. And these, so I had this one that was Sculpey, which is just not the right shape at all. I have this one, which is Sculpey, which is a bird and dragonfly, which would be nice, but for the shape of the bracelet, I'm not going to be able to use this. And then these are from Tanya Letterman. Her name, it's Tanya's Treasures on Etsy. She has some awesome silk screens, and this one might have been nice, but I just chose this one, and there's no name on the silk screen, and I've taken all the packaging off, but I'm thinking this is Helen Brielle, and if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, but I do believe this is a Helen Brielle silk screen, but it had nice thick lines. See, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to make a bracelet, and I'm going to lay this down, and on your silk screens, there's a shiny side and a dull side. You want to put your shiny side down on your clay. Now, this is clay that I have rolled out. This is black clay, and I've rolled it out to a number 4 on my pasta machine, which is 4 playing cards thickness. And I'm just trying to make it straight, and then make sure it's in contact with your clay all the way down. Okay, then I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to try using this. I may end up having to use a brush. But I want to put this on my silk screen and rub really well over those white areas. Now, I saw this on an Allison Merritt video where she was doing butterflies using this technique, and I was so amazed by it, I had to try it. These are, what are the names of them? Born Pretty Nail, and this is the chrome set. But you just want to make sure you get this all over where the design is. Now, this works a little different than when you use paint, because with paint, you can just run a squeegee over it to spread it out, but this needs to be applied separate, you know, by itself with a brush, or like I said, this is the first time I've used this, but it came with the little, each jar had its own little applicator, so I thought I would try it. And I'm going to go all the way to the end, and hopefully I can match up this end to it. I don't know if they'll match up or not. And I'm getting powder on my clay, which, let me take a Q-tip and a little bit of alcohol and wipe that off of my clay. I may have to do it after I remove the... Oh, I had it on my fingers too. I'm just making a hot mess out of this, aren't I? Hopefully the design will cover up my mistakes as we go along. But anyway, I used my patty paper, so I have to get out another sheet. I'm then going to take my patty paper and I'm going to lay that down over this, and I'm just going to rub with my fingers just to make sure that this stuff gets through the silk screen. And with a little bit of luck, this will have worked. Now remove my patty paper. Then I'll remove my silk screen and see what I've got. Oh boy, look at that. Isn't that neat looking? Now I need to get a baby wipe. I would have had these out if I had known I was going to need them, and I should have known. To wipe my fingers off. And I'm going to use the baby wipe to wipe that off also. So that is really cool. So let me see if I can match this up somehow. I'm going to wipe off at least the end of my silk screen so I can see how this might match up. Doesn't look like it will, so I'm just going to have to try to make it work. I'm just doing it with this because I've got stuff on my fingers. Get out another piece of patty paper. I'll get two. Wipe off my fingers. But I think that's... Let's see, this is for my next layer. Let me just move this out of the way so I can slide this over. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'm hoping it'll work without me having to clean it. This is actually the first time I've tried this. But I'm loving the design and the the design it's making on the clay. Now, I did put these on my Amazon store, these nail micas, the Born Pretty. They are the Chrome collection. They have several different collections, but I think the Chrome will look the best on the clay. Let me just make sure I get everything covered. And I'm going to put the patty paper over it to just burnish it a little bit and rub it to make sure that this powder gets through the silk screen. I've not tried this with a smaller silk screen. I'm thinking it might not work, excuse me, quite as well, but I may be wrong. So let me pull up my patty paper and pull up my silk screen. And there's my veneer. The good thing about using powders on your silk screen is you're not rushed to get them cleaned off right away. But I think that is awesome. I even like the way it came together here in the seam. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Teresa Salgado's bracelet kit. Let me put this away before I have a disaster, which has been known to happen. I'm going to take the largest design, which ended up getting copper mica on it. Now you can try this with other micas. I don't know how they work. The only experience I have is with these. But I'm going to measure this. Oh, it needs to go out just a little bit more. Okay. So let me put my silk screen back on. Let me turn this so I can get to it. And just trying to figure out how I'm going to put this on to match up. I've got to look at it and see what would look best. I think this side would look best matched up here. Just make sure the silk screen is all the way down. I just needed about an inch. And of course I had put my mica powder away before I checked. But I need 8.5 inches for my wrist. And that is just about the size of Teresa's templates. So I try to use her templates as much as I can to make cuff bracelets. I think that will do it. Just burnish it just to make sure that this powder has gone through the silk screen. And then pull it up. There. Okay, so I've got that done. Let me lay this over here out of the way. Trying to wipe the mica off my fingers. And I already cleaned this off. But the good thing about this being clear is I can lay it down and kind of pick where I want to put it. Sorry if my hair got in the way. I'm thinking that is a good place. And like I said, this is clay that's rolled out to a number 4 on my pasta machine. And I'll cut here. And I'll cut here. And I'm not going to worry about cutting the ends yet, just because the ends are going to have to be trimmed again anyway. And I'm going to save this black. Looks like I cut my plastic. I'm going to save this with the mica powder on it, because you can still use it, but I will blend the mica powder into it, so it'll add a little bit of a sheen to it. But I wanted to lay this on plastic so it would be easier to pick up and move, because it is thin. There we go. Some of the mica came off on my... Can you see that? A little bit of the design came off on my thing. But it wipes off. It's just powder. Okay, so I'm going to lay this aside for a minute. And I think I showed you a little while ago, I had... Let me just use this little piece. I had some other clay, some black clay that's rolled out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And I must not have wiped my fingers very well, because I got copper on it, so I'll just flip it over. There's copper on that side too. I guess this is the best side. And where is my Q-tip that I used a little while ago? Did I throw it away? No, here it is. I'm going to spray my Q-tip again with alcohol and just wipe over it. And it doesn't matter if you get all of it off, because I'm going to texturize this. Now throw it away. And I didn't get out my texture sheets. Let's see what this one is. I've got some long, skinny texture sheets. These are my texture sheets. But are these long enough? No, I'd have to piece these together. So I need to find something. Well, that would be interesting. Or I could just take this Sculpey texture sheet with leaves. I think maybe I'll just do that. And I'll spray this with water. So the texture sheet won't stick. And I'll lay this down here. And I'm going to press. You actually can take your roller and press with the end of your roller if you like. Mine is rounded a little bit on the end, so it's easy to use for your texture. Yeah, that looks good. And then I'll just continue down here. Try to match up a branch or something. So that's the texture that will be on the inside of my bracelet. Let me just get the water off. Don't press hard. You don't want to get rid of your texture. But then turn it over. And then you can apply this. And then just cut around it. I'm going to cut a little bit at an angle, just to kind of give it a better finish. Except I'm going to cut all the way through at an angle, which I didn't do. Actually, I think the best thing to do would be to lay this back over it. And cut. Excuse my hair, I just need to make sure it's all the way to the edge. Now be a little bit more black clay. Well, that doesn't have copper on it. I can use that with my black. And then do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to cut this just at a slight angle, but I'm coming out a little bit from the template. And wipe the powder off of your template. And now we have a nice thickness for our bracelet. I'm going to peel it off the plastic. And I'm going to use a bracelet form. Now I have Teresa's, which is this one. This is the largest. Or I have this one, which is just a brass bracelet template that I got many years ago, I believe at Rio Grande. Pretty sure it was Rio Grande where I got this. And I like this because it has a little bit of a roundness to it. So I think I'm going to use this. But I'm going to find a good place for the center. No. Let me see something here. Okay, I didn't want to cut it off. And not use it. Let me see. There's a good place for the center. And just wrap it around. And you can cut this if you want right now, which I am. Mainly because I smeared the ends by picking it up. And I got this from Rings and Things. This is a package of bales. They're actually glue-on bales. Let me get one out and show it to you. Here's a copper one, and all these that I dumped out, and there's not the others are bronze. Let me find a little bowl, although I filled all my bowls up with. But see, these are glue-on bales, and it's meant to glue this flat side. Let me show you the shape of it. It's meant to glue this back side onto the back of a piece of jewelry. But I have found if you insert that into your clay before you bake it, then they will bake in there. There's another copper. And this was an assortment. I'll put that here and hope I don't pick up that paper towel. But I'm going to take a craft knife, or actually I'm going to use this little scoop tool. And I probably need to put something over so I don't smear my copper. Because until we bake it, it's not going to be very secure. But I'm going to stick this in there. And I think I'll have these little rings coming up. But stick it in. And if you do it before you start fine-tuning your clay, then when you start pressing things together, it will automatically sort of seat itself. I know you can't see what I'm doing. You see, I'm sticking this in the little slit. Except you have to do it. I can't show it to show you where you can see it because it's got to be seated down on something in order to push it in there. You can see there it's pushed in. Now what I'm going to do, and I'll probably use plastic for this, again, so I don't smear my copper, is I'm just going to press down on each side so that if you like the raw side showing, that's fine. I don't particularly care for that. But look at the difference here in the rounded side, and then here where it's just the clay. I like this look better. But if you don't put something over it, you'll smear your powder. So be sure you put something over it. And try to keep it even. I think I pressed that a little bit too much, but I'll deal with that in a minute. Let me turn it around. Just work your way. Sorry, with the turn moved in like this. You can't see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. And when we get to the ends, because it's sticking out from the form a little bit, you kind of have to do that by hand. Take it out and look at it. And I may end up cutting this off, maybe not. It ended up not being straight, so let me just trim this off straight. Try not to touch your clay because it's got those powders on it. And then what I'll do is you can either take a tool like this and just even up the sides. Or if you don't have a tool like this, you can take the back of your blade, not the sharp side, but the back side, and just push. And that will make it flat. Or even, I guess, is a better word for it. I still have to do the other end. Now there are plenty of other ways to make a bangle bracelet, and if you prefer someone else's method, that's fine. This is just how I do mine. And I'm going to pinch this end a little bit to round it off. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. First I'm going to cut it to make it straight. And let me even this side up just a little bit where, you know, every time you mess with the clay it stretches a little bit. And then I'm going to take the end of my paper and just pinch it. So that's all I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take this and I'm going to set it up. Actually, I'll lay it down and bake this in my oven. I'm going to bake it for an hour and then I'll be back. Right, I am back and I've got the bracelet out of the oven and I'm just sitting here thinking that maybe I will leave it on the form while I put the UV resin on the outside, because that way it sits up off of the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and take it off because I want to look to see if there's any place that needs to be sanded. And there might be a few little places here, not a lot. Actually, I'm a little surprised. There's a little rough place there. So let me get my sandpaper and I will sand this just a little bit. Okay, this is just a sanding sponge that I bought at the home improvement store. I believe it's a fine. I don't know what the grit would be. It's not fine enough to sand the surface, but I think as far as just going along the edges, I could use it like this just to get the edges a little bit smoother. And you could wet sand this, which probably would not be a bad idea with my sinuses the way they are. So let me just spray this a little bit with water. It keeps the dust out of the air. If you have a little bowl of water, you could use that. But I'm just going to sand the edges a little bit just to get some of the rough places off. And then I'll wipe that off. Now, one thing about doing this the way that I did is this is going to give you a very thin bracelet. So if you don't put the, if you don't use, sorry, let me get back closer to my desk. If you don't use this little clasp thing that we're going to construct at the end, you probably will not get, it probably won't stay on your arm because it's very flexible right now because it's not real thick. But I think for summertime we don't want thick. Let me see which side I sanded. This is the side I sanded. So I'm just going to rub the other one over it just enough to get this little uneven places. You know how it is with clay. You end up with some little uneven places. But this is the only sanding you should have to do. I am not a fan of sanding and buffing. It just is not my thing. And besides, with this mica on here, you can't sand and buff or you'll sand it off. So that's why I'm so happy that Teresa came up with this resin. And I'm just going to run the edges here on the ends. Come around this side. And there's definitely clay coming off because you can see it. And let me get this side. Just make sure all of your edges get sanded. I'm just going to turn it around this way. And wipe it off. And I will rinse this off when I'm finished and can get to the sink. One of my dreams is to have a craft room with a sink in it. That would be so awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the Deep Shine, and this is Tiny Pandora's Deep Shine Brush On UV Finish. And you only get an ounce, but I tell you, I have been using this ounce a lot because a little goes a long way. And I'm just going to pour a little bit in there. And I'm going to brush off the bottle with my brush because I'm very frugal, which is just another name for cheap. And I don't like to waste anything. And this stuff to me is just like gold. It is so awesome. I love it. Let me wipe this off. For those of you that have seen me in the past do these, I had spilled just a drop on my glass surface in my other craft room where I do my paper crafts, and it looked like, and evidently the sun coming through the window hardened it, and it's just a big glob on my glass mat, and I cannot get it off. So that shows you just how tough this is. Now I'm going to brush, and I'll get one edge, but I'm going to try to avoid the bottom edge so it can have a place to sit. On the tray and then I'll come back when I finish with this, and I'll maybe put another coat on and go across the bottom edge. But this brush comes with your kit. Look how that copper is just, whoops, that's the side I wasn't gonna get, isn't it? See, I get so distracted. But I love the way that this UV resin, I'll just wipe that off. I think I got it again. But how the UV resin makes the colors pop. It's just awesome. And I'm going to and my light is right over here. I've got everything laying on this plastic sheet, but let me just run this. A little bit on the edge. Just make sure that there's none on the edge. I don't want it to harden and stick to my foil. So I have my foil. Where did it go? I probably set my sanding stuff on it. No, I laid it inside the sanding thing. So I'm going to lay this on my foil, and I've shown you the light before, and if you have one, you know what a UV light looks like. But it is behind me because it's the closest place to my work table that has access to a electrical outlet. So I'm going to put this under the UV light for about 5 minutes, and then I'll be back. Okay, it's been about 4 or 5 minutes. And there it is. And this is just one coat. Isn't that beautiful? I just absolutely love this resin. But I need to do the bottom. So since I've got a little bit of resin left in here, I wrapped my brush in some foil while I was waiting because I didn't want my brush to get hard. There's a little bit of sunlight in this room. But I'm going to, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I get the ends. I don't remember if I got the ends before or not. But I'm going to get this edge and then just go over just what's left on the brush. I'm just going to go over one more time. So let me get this side. Go over the edge. So this way both edges will be shiny. And I'm just going to go over the top just to use up the resin that's in this little cup. Love this stuff. And then I threw my paper towel away. I'm just going to go over the other edge to make sure I didn't get any here. Because again, I don't want it to stick to my foil. So again, it's going to go in for 5 minutes and I'll be back. Okay, my bracelet is all finished. It's beautiful. Well, I say it's finished. It's the resin has been cured and it just looks awesome. So, what I'm going to do here is, you can see I put this on a white tile so you could see. I didn't have any copper chain and clasp, but I did have some bronze, so it doesn't match, but I'm going to use it anyway. But just a section of chain and 2 open jump rings. Then I have another package of jump rings, and I bought these at Walmart. I didn't have it. I had the chain and the lobster clasp, but I didn't have any jump rings in this color, and I just happened to be in Walmart this morning, and I looked, and lo and behold, they had these. I looked for copper, but they didn't have copper. So I'm going to use one of these. This is a variety pack, and there is a way to get into this. Once I figure it out, it's this way. But this is a variety pack. It's got 4mm, 6mm, and 8mm jump rings in it. And I think I'm going to use this. Must be the 6mm. It's the same size as those, to use as the ring for the clasp. And I'm going to try to keep it in this just so they don't end up all over the place. And put it with my other jewelry findings. And I'll put my chain there too. This was the chain. Actually, I think I got this at Walmart too. It's been a while. But it came with 2 lobster clasps and 4 jump rings. So I didn't really need to buy anything else, but I did buy the jump rings. So what I'm going to do here is first I'm going to determine the length that I want my 2 chains. So I'm going to take this, whoops, maybe this is where I need to move my tile. I'm going to take this, actually I can measure it here. From one tip to the other tip is just not about an inch, not quite an inch and a, well, about an inch and a quarter. So then you have the lobster clasp. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this at right here. Don't know why I picked right here. It just looked good to me. And I'm going to cut it rather than try to open the jump ring. I'll just cut this ring. And that's the piece I'm going to use. So that's extra. And then I'm going to take this and cut it in, no, I don't think I'll cut it in half. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these open jump rings, and I'm going to take it and put it through my clasp, and then loop this chain over it. Then I'm going to close the jump ring. And let me just close that jump ring. So there we have that. Okay, now I'm going to put the other jump ring through the bail. And I'm going to close that. Okay, I'm going to open this jump ring. And put it through the lobster clasp and through this jump ring, and then I'll close it. Let me grab this a different way. There. And then get that closed. So now you have a lobster clasp, and you can put this wherever you like on this chain. If you have a little dangle, if you have a charm or something you could hang from this, that would make it even cuter, because then it could hang. But you can put this anywhere on this chain that you like, whatever the size is. But there you go. There is my bangle bracelet made with the Born Pretty mica powders. And I'm loving those mica powders. So much so, y'all will laugh, that I ordered the glitter ones. Wait till you see the glitter ones. If you think these were pretty, the glitter ones are gorgeous. So please come back, and we will work on another project soon. And come back on Fridays for my Friday Frolics. So hope you like this. Bye-bye.